Have you ever felt burnout while working on a project? I know I have. In fact, I'm feeling it right now. Burnout is something every game developer hits at some point, whether you're just starting out or have been at it for years. Game development is very demanding, and there are many moving pieces to making a game, let alone a good game. But even though burnout is almost unavoidable, there are ways we can reduce the chances and effects it has on us. Hopefully after this video you can walk away with some tools that can help you avoid burnout when going down your game development journey. Like I mentioned earlier, I was dealing with burnout myself. I recently just finished my first ever solo project and was about to get started on my second project, but I started to find myself struggling to stay motivated. I usually would code for 2.5 hours a day, but I would get about 30 minutes in and I would genuinely feel like I was in physical pain. I tried pushing through for 3 days, but it was just making it worse. I was tired and I lacked the motivation to start my next project. I was burnt out, but why? Burnout can happen for many reasons, but the 3 most common reasons I found were having a high workload and busy schedule, boredom and staleness, and overcoming difficulty and dealing with bugs. These 3 reasons are the main causes for game developers to lose motivation in their projects as well as feel burnout. For me, I would say it was a mix of my workload and difficulty with bugs, but mainly my daily workload. So let's start with what I feel is the most common of the 3. A high workload and a busy schedule. I have seen many comments on my videos about how people want to do game dev, but they are too busy or can't muster up the motivation to get started. And the way they feel is valid. Learning game development takes time, and not everybody has time. I currently work a full-time job and also go to the gym 5 days a week. And not only that, but I have a relationship I must maintain. I would say time is definitely not on my side, but here's what I believe can make it easier while having a busy schedule. First, start small. Not everyone is capable of sitting at their computer for 10 hours a day to learn game development. It's just not realistic. And not only that, but not everyone has the endurance to work on a project for 10 hours a day. The best way to start and avoid burnout is taking on a workload that you can manage. If you're a new developer and you think you can only learn for 30 minutes a day, then take those 30 minutes to focus deeply. Any amount of learning is better than nothing. For me personally, I had an issue with this aspect. I would always try to get a minimum of 2 hours of game dev in a day, and unfortunately, that's what led me to feel burnout. I was worried about getting the daily amount of coding time in rather than the quality of my learning. All that really matters is the quality of your learning and that you make it fit your schedule, even if it's just for 20 to 30 minutes. This next tip is very important and is taking breaks. Many game developers feel that they need to keep going or else no progress will be made. I'm guilty of this one. I would make sure to always get some amount of coding and game dev time in, no matter how tired I felt. Issue was, this was wearing me down slowly and quietly. A small break allows you to reset your mind and avoid mental fatigue. Game dev is very demanding. There are many things we need to think about and work on when creating a game. And over time, your mind will drain and you will feel mentally exhausted. Taking a break for a short amount of time allows you to press that reset button and feel fresh for when you return to your project. After I tried working on my second project, I couldn't focus. I felt frustrated, tired, and I was making no progress in my game. I decided to take a 4-day break from game dev, and I didn't open Unreal one time in those 4 days, and it felt amazing to finally just relax. I was able to come back refreshed and ready to get back to the usual schedule. Lastly, don't rush the process. Many game developers try to rush the process of game development. They set themselves deadlines and focus on the specific date on when they need a specific feature done or game to be released. And this tip goes more for solo developers. Of course, if you're in a company and there's a deadline, good luck. But for solo developers that are trying to learn and get into the industry, setting deadlines only adds stress and pressure to your journey, and it makes the learning process a lot less fun. I am extremely guilty of this one as well. I tried setting a deadline for all my projects as well as an upload schedule for all my YouTube videos, and all it did was stress me out and burn me out. Now I've decided that I'll upload when I can, and for game dev, I'll just do the best I can, and if I'm a little on the slower side for getting those 6 mini projects out, it's okay. As long as I learn the skills to get into the industry, that's all that really matters. This next reason is something most people wouldn't think would lead to burnout, but it makes sense when you think about it, and it's boredom and staleness. Making a video game is surprisingly a long process. Even the most simple, unpolished, poorly made, bad designed, waste of time game Sorry. Even those types of games can take a long time to make. This leads a lot of people to become bored with their projects. It's very demotivating to feel like you are working on a project for a long time, only for it to feel like there is no end or no reward for your work. And the best way to overcome this is to change what task you are working on. When you start to work on a project, you can get caught up in wanting to finish a certain task. It could be wanting to create an in-depth AI system that has over 12,000 lines of code. Problem is, if you keep working on that AI system day after day, it's going to become very repetitive and you will lose motivation to keep working on the project. So when you feel yourself getting bored, you can always swap tasks. For example, you can start doing level design or creating animations for your AI if you don't feel like straying too far away from the main task. The important thing is you give yourself variety. It makes the process of making games more fun and interesting. I unintentionally did this with my first project. Whenever I felt bored, I just decided to work on something else. Could be my TikTok brain at work, but hey, it worked for me. The next best way to combat boredom is to give yourself small wins. Sometimes we look at the process of making a game as a whole. We will see the start and the end, and this can easily lead to loss of motivation. Like I said earlier, game dev is a long process and it can be very daunting to look at it in that way. So instead of looking at it from start to finish, break down the project into small bite-sized tasks. This will give the feeling of progression more often, which is exactly what your brain will need to feel motivated to continue. This can work hand in hand with changing up the task. For 1 week, you can work on animations, and the following week, you can work on story and lore. This allows you to keep things fresh while still feeling like you are making progress. When I work on my projects, I usually take this approach naturally. For 3 days, I'll work on movement and animations. Then the next few days, I'll work on level design and world building, and so on till I'm finished with whatever it is I'm building. In my head, it's just always been easier to break things down so that I don't overwhelm myself. And lastly, if none of these work, maybe stepping away and working on something else is exactly what you need. Sometimes we really just need a break from the same project. It can be very tiring to look at the same thing over and over again, and a change of scenery is what you might need. If you have been working on your solo project for the last year nonstop and you feel yourself fizzling out, it could benefit you to take a break. This could be a good opportunity for you to make a mini project on the side that you always wanted to try, or join a short game jam and test yourself. Main thing is to give yourself a break and try something different. Make that new mechanic you always wanted to try to make. Recreate your favorite video game, but with your own art style. This allows you to continue staying creative and learn new skills, which can bring the excitement back into game development. Next, the difficulty of game dev and dealing with bugs is a big factor to why many developers become burnout. It's known that game dev is very hard and demanding, and the bane of all game developers' existence is bugs. It is one of the worst feelings to know what you want to accomplish with your code and only for it to not do what you want. And then you have to sit there for the next 3 days trying to figure out why it's not working. This is a quick killer of motivation, especially if it gets to a point where you can't solve the issue and it's been multiple days. Fortunately, there are some ways to help avoid burnout when you start to struggle with your project. The best thing to do is once again walk away. That's all you have to do. Take a break and walk away. There will be times where your emotions can take over and your frustration can cloud judgment, which creates a cycle of dealing with a bug, getting upset, trying to fix it, can't fix it, get more frustrated, repeat. But walking away allows you to regain yourself and start over with a fresh mindset. Unfortunately, bugs are inevitable. It's part of the job as a game developer. We are problem solvers and we need to solve issues when they come. But if you continue to force something that isn't working, nothing will change and you will be left feeling too burnout and demotivated to continue. So please take a break when it gets hard. The next thing we can do is trying to break the problem down into its simplest form. When it comes to fixing bugs or trying to create a system that we have never built before, we can feel very overwhelmed. When faced with a challenge, if we can stop to think, what is it I'm trying to do? Or what is it I'm trying to fix? And then make small tweaks to test and build from, a lot of our troubles could get solved a lot sooner if we just slow down and think objectively. Burnout comes from stress, and when we try to move too quick and look at the issue as a whole, it will stress you out to the point of burnout. Unfortunately, game dev is tough and it can be mentally demanding, which can lead to burnout for a lot of people. But I do believe these tips can help reduce the chances of burnout or get you out of the state of burnout. Like I said earlier, I was feeling burnout when starting my new project. I was mentally exhausted and I wasn't really giving myself a break. I was on go all day, every day pretty much. And it got to the point where trying to work on my project felt like I was in physical pain. Every day I would wake up in the morning at 6:45, get ready for work from 8 to 4:30, then I would get home at around 5 and code for another 2 hours. After I finished coding, I'd get to the gym around 7:30 and work out till 9 p.m. And then I would spend the remainder of my day making sure I had quality time with my girlfriend. And I'd repeated that cycle for 2 to 3 months. It was a slow build up, but eventually the exhaustion caught up to me and I couldn't do anything anymore. I decided to take a 4-day break and I felt so much better after. And now I'm ready to get back into it. But this time I'll make sure to use these tools to avoid burnout in the future. And if you're a game developer, you could run into this sooner or later. And it's all about how you handle it and give yourself the time you need to recharge. I'm hoping this video can help a couple people out there. I ran a poll and had a handful of you mention that burnout and motivation is the hardest part about game development. Burnout can happen to anyone. If you want to talk about it, or maybe you're looking for a community of game developers, join my Discord. We're building a place for game developers to help each other grow. I'd be happy to speak with anyone that is struggling with burnout. And lastly, thank you for watching till the end, and I'll see you guys in the next video.